Hey there, YouTube. So I've just started to watch some Harold Bloom. I did read Map of Misreading. He's been an important writer for me in some degree, but I've never, that's the joy of YouTube, is all these people I've heard about and read about, I can pull them up. Is there Martin Buber here? Let me check. I don't even know, right? Like, it depends if you're in the age when they're making recordings or not. And as we go forwards, more and more people are going to make recordings. And I don't, there we go. Looks like is that going to be about him or is that him? Like, am I going to see Martin Buber talking somewhere here? I don't know yet. Still checking into it. So, is that him? Is that what he looks like? No, this is a Catholic priest. So, who knows? So, what I want to talk about here in this video, though, is well, I did do, speaking of this Russia Today picture, I wrote Tales from a House Divided and published this today. This Willamette Quarterly Meeting Men's Group Onion Dome banner, I believe this whole group is on the verge of disappearing because I think Yahoo Groups, which was a free listserv service, is no longer taking posts, and they're probably going to just pull the plug on this, right? And Synergio, which is another one that I've been involved with, that's a lot of kind of scratch pad synergetics, people trying to work out on some ideas there. That may be going away too. So there's probably going to be archives somewhere, but they won't be easy to get. So I'm talking about the Tulsi Gabbard Hillary Clinton blow up, but I'm sort of writing from the far future. I actually refer to Kellogg-Briand Treaty Pact, and that's going way back, right? So as I go into the future, my hindsight takes in more and more of the past. Remember, we get into H.G. Wells in this curriculum, talking about School of Tomorrow, and his hanging out in New York that time to try to forestall a war that everyone saw was coming. He was kind of like your man on the ground, H.G. Wells. You can, I hope, find that. So, onward. I was at the gallery tonight anyway. This is my neighborhood. I think if I hit reload, I'm going to see some more pictures, or are they not uploaded? I just uploaded a whole batch. That's why I'm expecting. No, same ones. I'm going to pause this and see what's going on. Okay, I think I figured it out. I just hadn't uploaded the pictures. So now if I hit reload, do I get to the gallery? Because tonight I was in the gallery showing it to Greg and Margot. We had a good time catching up a bit. And then coming home, this lady had a sidecar motorcycle with a skeleton in it, and very photogenic, I thought. Of course, I didn't get very good pictures. There's Greg and Margot, and we're checking out Lattice Gallery at night. It's really picturesque at night like that. Let me go back and zoom in. Pretty cool. People drive by and they see this big storefront. And it's real near Pendleton, which is where Kenneth Nelson was born, actually, Pendleton, Oregon. Now, what I'm going to end with, now that we've looked at some Bucky Fuller-like geometry, one of these is actually a movie. Let's see if it plays in Flickr. I don't usually try to do movies in Flickr. Can I rotate this movie? Can I rotate the whole movie? That would seem unlikely to me, but I'll give it a shot here. So if I go down to the right here, hello, am I allowed to rotate you? Doesn't seem too interested in letting me even try that. Let's go back one and click on the delete. No, all I can do is delete it, which I do not want to do. So let's go look at General Systems Theory. as a substantive topic. There's a lot of talk about fiscal instability and skyrocketing debt, and everything's exponential, all these curves, no one understands it, there's no model. But you just settle down and think about the physical situation of a planet near a star and bathed in sunlight, terawatts, and individuals, humans, the bodies being like 100-watt bulbs, plus or minus, in terms of needing sustained power input output, just like the planet has sustained power input output. You want to output, not just input, right? So there's balance in all things. Now, I think, words like prayer, I don't have prayer in the diagram here, but further down, a potential turnoff to people. Prayer, service, results. But I wanted to just say, I think that when you're earnestly wishing, and even if you just have what's called a God's eye view in a video game and you're looking at planet Earth and you're wishing the best for that ecosphere, you want the best for the life there. It's kind of a religious awe that you have just to be seeing this spherical planet, whether you're a believer in deities or not, or angels, who knows what your belief system is. I think it's okay to have awesomeness be a part of the phenomenology of being, and the planet just being is awesome, to use an overused word. And in that space of wonder, you can have wishes, earnest wishes for the life there, and you could call that prayers, and you don't have to be a believer in deities to understand that a prayer is like a heartfelt, sincere, authentic wish, either for self or others, or you're trying to dream into the world some states of affairs. And whether you believe in deities or not, it's a state of mind that I think, why do we have cars, telephones? Because dreamers, inventors, engineers of various kinds, they had a clear picture of, we want, if only we could have. And iterations, airplanes, so much work on getting airplanes to work because the dream was there. We knew what we wanted, and the closer we got, the more we knew we could do it. And there's a lot of things like that. The spiral of, oh my gosh, we could do this. So that's what I mean by be, and then doing is the acting. See, a lot of general systems theory is theatrical. It's about plays that we star in. Excuse me for my cold here tonight. But we star in improv role-playing situations. Or we play other people if it's a movie. And making movies is part of the economy. It's what we do. Theater is not a small part of the economy, especially if you count military action. Think of the expense of those props, those fighter jets and so on, and the training and so on. These are very expensive movies. And they're for real, as we say. Not all movies have to be that. But for, living and, staying alive, we need real watts, real joules worth of energy. And talking about money in terms of gold and all this, we fall back on the old ways of talking, the old reflexes, instead of pushing out to the new frontiers where we talk electrical grids, global grids, high voltage, and then the big picture just around energy generally. And of course, when we say petrodollars, that kind of, in a way, is a good way of remembering that currency is more like a measure of energy flowing along. It's like amps. You could say dollars represent a certain amount of amps. And then the velocity of money, well, that's the, amount of current that's going through. So that's still amps, but, it takes voltage pressures and all this. The analogies in economics between like hydrodynamics and electrical circuitry and money and so on, that's already well established. I'm just saying let's remember the Earth is plugged into the sun like an appliance into a wall socket, and we're basically in the position of a nonprofit with a steady guaranteed grant. That's kind of a sweet position to be in. And then what we do is insert a water wheel. That is our collective image of humans inserting an artifact that takes nature's energy, in other words, the evaporation cycle, the rain coming back down and flowing downhill, flowing down the river. What we do is we put in our dam or a water wheel, and we harvest that energy and get it to do irrigation, pumping, lighting our homes, iPhones, devices, all the stuff that we take for granted, but shouldn't really, because it takes a lot of work to maintain this high living standard, you could call it, that a lot of us don't have. But, what is it that's keeping us from having a pretty good life now? Because technologically, we've learned so much, we've come so far. We know how to do, even if you live in a tent, you could have large communal spaces that are very opulent, and you want to live in a tent because you get to be off with your family in a cool way that, it's more like maybe it's not a tent, maybe it's more like a yurt. But I'm just saying we have amazing prop inventory. That's what we have in the have. Have is our like inventory of props for doing theater. And we've amassed such a lot there. We should use our imaginations, plan, think, right? And then do our theater and keep adding to what we have, but not in any stupid way, right? We need to be parsimonious, elegant. It's like when you're writing theater, not everything is as good as everything else. And in my picture here, if we head towards dystopia, obviously we all pay the price. Now, I did this arrow and picture long before banging the plane hit there, and it came from a different angle. This has nothing to do with 9/11. This came out in 1987, that diagram. But I do give my picture of movie directors in the sense of leaders, thought leaders, orchestrators of human dramas as great tragedy directors up until recently, and now it's more farcical because we know that we could make it as a species. That's what this diagram is about. With current technology, we don't have to be as tragic about it, and that means that undermines tragedy as a genre in some ways, which accounts for a sort of a farcicalness at the current time. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to talk about, there's a lot here, by the way, link-wise and stuff, but I wanted to talk more about that word prayer shouldn't be so scary, because it doesn't mean you have to be like a believer in deities, one or more deities, to know what I'm talking about in that particular context, right? You can use these words anyway, right? So I'm just following some Dana Priest article there. Another, like a related meaning for all these GSTs. But what I use contribution to general systems theory is where I'll take you. What I was doing is saying, hey, economics tells us as a discipline that monopolies are bad, they breed complacency, and so we should not have just one discipline in charge of looking at bread and butter issues, money, circuitry, global energy circuits, finance, banking. We're not going to make economics be the only discipline that cares about that. We're going to have general systems theory as a competing theory. Like, it actually can diss economics as a discipline. Because why do you just talk about money but never about the energy budget, the global energy budget? The solar energy is the realest thing, right? It's not just about solar panels. It's keeping the temperature, it's all of our warmth, it's photosynthesis, it's everything, the sun. That pharaoh who thought everything came from the sun was pretty much literally correct in so many ways. Even fossil fuels, right? So unless your economics textbooks, whatever, are very clear about the role of this fusion furnace in the neighborhood and what it does for us and how we get value from the water wheel, so to speak, then I don't know if I trust your discipline. If all you talk about is gold or something and never talk about the sun, that's kind of nuts, right? So that's kind of where I come down rhetorically with this stuff, but in more words than that, usually. You can find this all at my website. I'll talk to you later.